wrapping up CES 2026 with Norbert Frassa and the Silicon Valley Macintosh User Group. This is MacVoices. MacVoices is supported by MacPaw, the makers of CleanMyMac, your ultimate solution for Mac control and care. Try CleanMyMac for 7 days free, then use the code MacVoices20 for 20% off at cleanmy.com/MacVoices. That's clnmy.com/MacVoices. MacVoices is supported by Incogni. Take your personal data back with Incogni. Get 60% off an annual plan at incogni.com/Chuck and use the code Chuck at checkout. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joiner. Every year we do a wrap-up episode to talk about CES and what we saw, what caught our attention, maybe add a little color to some of the videos that you've been watching over the past few weeks. This year, though, we decided to do something just a little bit different. The Silicon Valley Macintosh User Group invited me to come and speak, and I invited along Norbert Frassa, who runs the camera and works the back end at CES for us, so that we could share in a more conversational way what we experienced at CES. So what you're going to see is the edited version of that appearance. SVMUG always just puts their presenters front and center. That's the recording we're using. So that's what you're going to see. Norbert and I talk about not only the things that we really liked, but also the rig we used, how many shows that we did, and even confess to a couple missed shows because of some technical difficulties.
Okay, gentlemen, you're up.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. This is always fun, and it's especially fun this year because we get to talk about CES 2026, and it's even more fun for me because I get to have Norbert Frassa with me again. If you don't know Norbert, Norbert, how many years? 5, 6?
We just finished number 5, yes. We get our robe for Saturday Night Live, yes.
Yeah.
Our special robe.
Yes, Norbert, somehow he volunteered and has now become part of the deal here, where he operates the camera behind the scenes. He's notoriously bashful when it comes to getting up in front of the screen. So that's why I was a little surprised he agreed to do this tonight. But Norbert, thank you. I'm so glad you're here to share the discussion for CES.
My pleasure to join you and pleasure to see everyone else.
Yeah, there's so many familiar faces in the Zoom that I love it. So what I thought we would do is just try to give you a feel for CES and what we do and kind of why we do it, and then talk maybe about some individual products we saw and answer any questions that we can for you. By way of reference, I'm going to throw a link in the chat that I just posted this evening because just earlier tonight I finished posting the last of our CES interviews. Let's see the total. I want to make sure I got the number right because I wasn't sure. We published a total of 56 separate interviews from CES. And unfortunately, we lost about 5 due to either technical problems or user error, me being the user. And so I'm going to try to get some of those folks back on a regular MacVoices show because they were not omitted for any reason other than we had some problem of some kind. So I would like to stress the idea that just if you, after this, obviously, go through there, you'll see a lot of names you'll recognize. You'll see a lot of names that are new to you, but they all are there for a good reason. Norbert and I have this thing where we decide who we want to talk to. We try to revisit some old friends. We try to make new friends. But everything is very intentional. Every time we stop at a booth, it's not because we think, oh, well, we really should, or, well, it's one of the hot pieces of the show. We kind of reject that and just say, we're going to talk to the people that are doing things that we think are interesting and maybe the viewers and listeners would think are interesting. Norbert, does that pretty much sound like a fair introduction to this?
I think so. Yeah. A lot of the work, to let everyone know, a lot of the work is actually done behind the scenes, and it's done actually months before we actually hit the show running in Vegas. A lot of the work is done by Chuck in trying to filter out the amount of press releases that come out prior to CES, having them go through read. And I have to compliment Chuck on this, is that it appears that all the ones that we tend to hit every year tend to show up on the news the next morning or Monday morning when they first come out. So we tend to he tends to have a pulse on what's happening in the world, because we tend to talk to those exhibitors right on day one, on our first stop.
So Norbert is being very kind. I get lucky. I don't gamble in Vegas, but I do gamble on who we're going to talk to and who we don't. Just to give you a couple stats here, CES 2026 was the largest edition since the pandemic. There were 148,000 attendees, more than 4,100 exhibitors across 2.6 million net square feet of exhibit space. That goes to the Las Vegas Convention Center halls. I guess it's now the Venetian Convention Center. It used to be the Sands. There are private suites. There are supplemental meeting places. It's just an unbelievable. The first time I went to CES, I was told you're not prepared. You have no idea. And sure, I've been to Macworld. I'm prepared. Nope, not even close. It's truly amazing. It has become almost fair game that we can talk to pretty much anybody, because everybody has an iOS app of some kind, almost certainly. So when you take a look at the shows, you're going to see things that are very much Mac and Apple focused. You're going to see some others that aren't. And occasionally you'll run across one that seems to have nothing to do with our ecosystem. And that's kind of by design, because when we look at who we're going to talk to, we like to talk to people that maybe are a little bit off the beaten path, or that have a special aspect to it that we want to talk to. So with that, I want to just start going down through the list and touching on a couple things, and that's one of the reasons I put that list together, because there's a little bit of everything here. We started off talking to a couple of different security cameras. One was a cellular security camera. The other was, in fact, there were several of these at the show, smart bird feeders. And before you laugh at that, we talked to one of these a couple of years ago, one of the first ones that was out. I probably got more email about that than almost any other show we did that year. I had no idea all you people are out there watching birds. And so if you wonder what a smart bird feeder is, it's one that has a camera mounted inside, and you can record the video and capture the birds so you know what they are. This year's big innovation seemed to be that they are identifying the birds not just by appearance, but also by bird song. So it's, sooner or later we're going to get into a discussion of surveillance. Well, now we're surveilling the birds. But it is truly some of the videos just fascinating, I guess, to watch, and I can almost understand how it would be popular. And they're pretty darn affordable too. Norbert, feel free to jump in here. I'm just looking down through here. And I'm not going to go through each one because that would just be insane. A lot of smart lighting again this year, a lot of improvements that are popping up, and adding more smart lighting options, and frankly, much more affordable smart lighting options. For a while, it was kind of an expensive plaything, but the prices are coming down and the sophistication is going up. With Govee especially is working to make things a lot more affordable. But there are a number of others out there too.
Yeah, one of the interesting things with the Govee is they had an artificial skylight. So if you don't have the ability to add a skylight to your house, you can just plug in as like a screen that goes as a skylight, and it'll change just as if you're looking outside. It was very interesting.
Yeah, and I think last year we saw something similar, but it was more of a window. But of course, it cost, in the 10, I think that was $12,000 to $15,000 range.
Yeah,
this one was much more affordable.
That's for sure.
Drones are a big thing always. We've gotten away from seeing, because this is the Consumer Electronics Show, or CES. It's no longer consumer electronics, but it tends to target a little bit more at that level. You don't see the big, massive video surveillance drones kind of things that we might see at the NAB show, but the more personal drones. But there are more of those that are popping up that will follow you around automatically and that fit in the palm of your hand so that you can carry them with you anywhere. The one thing that we saw that I think, and Norbert, I'm not going to speak for you, but I know I was really impressed with, was the anti-gravity drone that is produced by a sister company to Insta360. So it incorporates the Insta360 camera gear in it. But it is a much different experience than a normal drone, both flying it and observing, because you put on a pair of goggles and you have a drone side view to what's going on. But it's 360 degrees. So it's not like you have to be necessarily piloting it to where you want to go. You can set it to follow a specified path, or you can fly it, and the flight is a lot more intuitive than a lot of the existing drones. But the 360 aspect is fascinating because it literally is, I can look up, I can look down, I can look left and right, and I'm seeing everything. The drone itself disappears because of the Insta360 technology, so that you never see any props or any part of the drone that is blocking your view. It's like you're sitting up in the sky and looking at whatever you want to look at. Norbert and I both had a chance to get in the cage and play with it a little bit. And Norbert, I'll let you talk about some of the observations we made on that.
It was absolutely amazing. When I was little, I wanted to be Superman, and this allowed me to be Superman. I was able to fly and look around, and as I was looking down, I was, someone else was working the drone for me, and I was just observing. But as I was looking down, I was able to see myself on the ground up from above. So it was almost as if I had an out-of-body experience at the time. It was completely amazing.
It's very strange to be, standing in a cage at CES. The drone is up in the air. You look down and you're seeing the top of your own head, and finding out maybe that you have a little less hair than you used to. But yeah, it has not been oversold. It truly is a very different experience. It's a bit pricier, and I've already received a number of comments that, well, this is too much money. And it's like, yeah, but this is not, your normal drone. So it is what it is. One I wanted to point out, we talked to it at Unveiled, was called Naqi Logix. It's a gesture-based control that they have developed, that with movements of your face or just very slight movements, you can control the cursor or control what's going on your screen. And they were showing this, and I really didn't get it until we went through the demo, and then it made perfect sense. But what got me was that then a couple weeks later, I was seeing patent applications out there for something similar, not by Naqi Logix. So that's something that is really interesting. And it's obviously, it has accessibility options, but so many of the accessibility things could be put to use by those of us that don't have some of those particular challenges, but could still be very, very useful. I'm just working my way down through the list, and we haven't even gotten out of Unveiled. Plod, I don't know how many of you are using any of the note-taking devices or the note-taking apps, but Plod has a new one that seemed to be very, very well received, and Plod already has a great reputation. We had talked to them last year almost as a throwaway, just because, oh, okay, well, let's see what this is. And it turned out to be one of those that just really hit the mark, because they have become a very important player in that mobile note-taking wearable note capturing device kind of thing. Norbert, pick one, please.
The other one that was kind of interesting is a company that we saw at Showstoppers, and it's called Subtle. And they're like earbuds that will basically do amazing noise cancellation. So I'm not sure if it was on the video or not. I haven't seen that video yet, but imagine the person speaking and you have Chuck Joiner on one side yelling and the other exhibitor on the other side yelling at this speaker, and he turns off the earbud and all of a sudden you can just hear him absolutely perfectly. And it works with your iPhone, it works with your Mac, just amazing noise cancellation, night and day.
And amazing is the word, because I joined in trying to disrupt the recording, and in the recording without the noise reduction turned on, you can barely hear the speaker. You just hear the other two people, one of which is me, yelling, and then flip it, and then the two yelling people just go away, and you can hear the individual as staggeringly clear. So that is definitely one worth looking at. One of the favorite stories, it really doesn't apply to any of us unless you have an idea. Stuff Manufacturing has brought silicone production to the U.S. This is someone who had some products. With the pandemic and then the tariff situation, they were having all kind of issues, and silicone, I guess, manufacturing had departed the U.S. a long time ago. Now, this gentleman really jumped through a lot of hoops and got it going again. He has some prototypes there, but he's one of those that if you have an idea for a silicone-based product, you want to talk to him. And I personally thought it was one of the best stories we heard, maybe not from a product standpoint, but just from a tech standpoint, where instead of sitting around griping about the pandemic, about the tariffs and all, he did something about it. And so I love that story. I love that story. My Xebec. I don't know if you've seen the additional screen solutions that you can get for your laptop that will almost mount on your laptop and then fold out like wings to give you a left screen and a right screen. Xebec has been one of the leaders in that, and they're back with a new three-screen system that I think I love the not just the panels but also the design, because there's some that I've seen that hang on your laptop screen, and I'm not real keen about putting that much weight on my laptop's hinges. But for those of us that have become addicted to multiple monitors, I can't imagine who I'm talking about. But when you go and get used to multiple monitors, it becomes honestly, a real chore to go back to just working on one screen. And this is one of those that gives the option to go and add two screens relatively, not necessarily inexpensively, but relatively easily in a very nice, compact, mobile package. So if that's something you're into, by all means. Norbert?
I'm going to group a couple of them together. And one of the amazing things that we see at CES is a lot of products that are invented out of necessity, where it's not just the company that is presenting or exhibiting there, but it's actually the founder and the person that invented the product because of a certain need that they found. And we saw two of them this year. One of them was a company called Strapsicle. And what was happening is, I believe his wife, you can correct me, Chuck, his wife was holding his iPad and almost dropped it because of the weight and hit his newborn baby. So he invented a strap that is a strap/case that's very simple to use. You put it on your iPad, and basically you just have a way to carry the iPad. The hinge comes off if you wanted the hinge off. Again, something that because he needed it, he invented it, patented it, got it ready, and it's going to start shipping second quarter of this year. And the other one was a young lady from France who had a lactose allergy, ate some food and wasn't aware that it contained lactose. So she invented an allergen test kit. The name of the company was called Allergen Alert Test. So you can immediately test your food right on the spot. So if you won't have certain allergies, you're lactose intolerant or anything like that, gluten, you can test it right on the spot. So again, wasn't invented. She had found the need, created it, and there we go.
Yeah, and I will pile on the Allergen Alert story. This was one of those that really didn't have an Apple orientation, but I know a number of people that have food allergies, that kind of thing, and some of which have had very, very unpleasant medical results after eating something they shouldn't have. And so we picked that out as one of those that, oh, this looks interesting. And she was a delight. She was the CEO's daughter, who had been the inspiration for the product. And we had a great little conversation. She was charming. The device was very intriguing. And we found out then after we came home that theirs was one of the CES top startups that had been selected. So that was another place where we got lucky that we ended up talking to someone who, in one little booth. And, that's something I should point out too. There's a place for the big mega booths that are probably bigger than the house that you live in. But there are also these little tiny booths. There's a section in the Sands Convention Center called Eureka Park. And when I tell you that they are the size of your standard folding table, that's the size of the booth. Okay. And so they are shoulder to shoulder. And sometimes those are the best, most interesting little things you find. That's where we found Allergen Alerts in the French Pavilion part of Eureka Park, because a lot of these, obviously, it costs a lot to come and exhibit at CES. And they come and, they're trying to get funding. They're trying to do business deals and also get publicity for their things. So sometimes you'll see, in all of our coverage, you'll see weird camera angles. You'll see cameras get bumped. You'll see people walking in front of the cameras. Hey, that's just the way it is. It's kind of a zoo, but in a good kind of way. The other thing I do want to explain too, you're not going to find lengthy interviews here or in-depth, interrogations of the vendors, because they don't have the time for it, and neither do we, or if we're going to see everybody we want to try to see. And so we take the approach that we walk up, introduce ourselves, ask them to give us their pitch, ask a few questions, and move on. And then if you, the viewer or listener, want to find out more, you can go to their websites. We make sure we have all the links and everything in there. It gets really frustrating when you see someone take up one of these booths that there's one or two people manning and stand there for 20 minutes. And I don't understand it. And I think, frankly, it's rude when they do that. So, now you're going to see a couple longer interviews here in especially in our showstoppers coverage. There was one that went on quite a while, but the gentleman wanted to talk and he still had more to say. And the booth wasn't particularly busy. So, but for the most part, these are 5, 7, 10 minutes is usually a long video interview. Oh, let's see. So many things here, so many things. We stayed away for the most part from the health stuff because there's just so much of it. But we did see a Luna ring that was particularly interesting. That is just another context-aware health tracking device. But it had some benefits and some assets that currently your Apple Watch doesn't. And so, there's also the Aura Ring. We did not see Aura Ring at the show, but there are a lot of health devices. That's, I think, a big theme It has been for the last few CESs, and it's going to do nothing but get bigger. Let's see. Our friends at MacPaw are always really terrific. In fact, it was one of the frustrating things because we lost part of one of the interviews we did in their booth. And I'm scheduled to talk to that gentleman again on Wednesday morning. So I'm looking forward to that. But they have, I don't know how many of you have the SetApp service, but if you do, you can try their Eney voice. It's a voice first AI assistant that lives in your Mac. Everything is done on device, and it can tell you things about your Mac. It can help you do things on your Mac. It's a good way for you to play around with a little bit of AI, knowing that nothing is going out to any of the major AI services. And of course, with MacPaw, I personally am comfortable recommending that because they have been around the Mac community for so long. They have such a great reputation, and they're fun to work with. But I also think they do fantastic products. Of course, CleanMyMac is the one that rises to the top, and I'm sure you all have talked about that a whole lot of times. Norbert, dive in.
In addition to that, we also saw, for us in the Mac community, plenty of techno-less devices that we, wanted and will be added to the MacVoices gift guide probably at the end of the year. From charging ports to a new dock from Satechi. That was phenomenal. Definitely on my list. Chuck already mentioned the Xebec multi-screen for your laptops. Innovative chargers from Aki, and we also got to visit Ugreen which has just some amazing network devices, and another company that we tend to visit every year, and they continue to grow and expand and get bigger and better, is Nextbase. When we first started to visit them, they had some very innovative in-dash cams. A couple years ago, I'm not sure if it was making the rounds on the internet, but basically someone who got swiped and the driver in front of them backed into them, and it was all caught on the dash cam from the driver, and it was actually a Nextbase cam. This year, they're going more into working with partnerships with OEM to try to be incorporated into the cars themselves. So I think that's going to be one of the trends for next year that we're going to start looking for. But I'll definitely plenty of things that I would love to open up my wallet and purchase this year. We'll see how the budget goes.
And I will do a quick endorsement of Nextbase cameras because I have a Nextbase in my car. And the other part of my life, whether you know it or not, is in the insurance industry. And I want a dash cam in my car. I guess the bad news is if I make a mistake, it will record it. But the good news is if I don't make the mistake, it will record who made the mistake. And I'll bet on myself rather than some of the other crazy people that are out there driving around, looking at their phones and not paying attention. Because there's no dispute. It's not a he said, she said at that point. It's here's the video, officer. You can make your determination. So it's relatively cheap insurance, and Nextbase has a model at every price point. Some of the feature sets are relatively simple, and some are extremely complex if you have particular issues that might be a matter of not maybe life or death, but of your own safety or your own comfort. For example, if you're someone who is concerned about being pulled over by the police, there is a way for you to send an immediate emergency notice that you're being pulled over by the police, and even to have some of the interaction that's there being broadcast to that individual. So it is definitely something worth looking at. One other thing I think that probably one of the newest categories is translation. We've seen it in the Apple AirPods Pro 3. Last year, we talked to a company called Vasco that were doing some really amazing things. This year, they've only gotten bigger and better because not only can they translate your voice or translate what you're saying into multiple languages, but they can also mimic your voice. so that I could be speaking Mandarin and it will sound like me. And which is really very disturbing when you hear yourself speaking Mandarin, especially if you don't know Mandarin. So they've pretty much gone earbuds, handheld devices. They even had what they described as a UN style translation now, where they can take multiple inputs from multiple sources, multiple languages coming in from multiple sources, and translate them into whatever it is you want translated onto a big screen. So very, very interesting. And there's just going to be more of this as we go along. Norbert, pick one. While I'm looking for somebody. I got to find it.
Wow. I don't know if you're like me, but one of the most annoying things that I find is when you get on a plane and the person next to you is just talking on their phone at normal voices or even elevated voices. And we've been visiting this company. This is like the third time we've gone to go see them. It's a company called Skyted. And it allows you to speak at a very, very soft level and still be able to have that be heard on the other side at normal levels. It started off, it's kind of interesting because it started off, I think the first year was almost like a CPAC machine. It was just so big. You put this thing on your face to try to get that. Then they moved down to, more of a headset microphone combination. And then this year they shrunk it even more. So they're working on that and working on trying to get some deals or some sponsorships or some collaborations with United Airlines, I believe, to try to get that technology on planes so you can speak at a very soft level, yet the other person on the other side can hear you because no one wants to sit next to someone who's screaming on top of their lungs while they're talking on the phone.
I don't know if you all are familiar with STM. They do cases and bags. But they're one of the companies we make a point of stopping at every year for a couple reasons. First of all, they make great gear. That's all there is to it. Second of all, they're just a lot of fun. I've been carrying an STM bag, one particular STM bag. It only leaves my house for 2 shows a year, CES and NAB, because for me, it's the perfect conference bag that the gear goes into exactly the way I want it. But they're constantly updating these things. It's become now a joke that when I stop by, I'm carrying this like 12, 14-year-old bag that looks like it's new. The waterproofing isn't even worn off the zipper because I just won't use it anywhere else. I don't want to take any chances with it. But I don't want to take away from the products because the products are great. But one of their promotions is every year they give away skateboards. Now, skateboards have nothing to do with their product line, but they give away these custom skateboards every year. The line is always around the booth and out. It's probably, what, Norbert, an hour wait to get a skateboard?
If not longer.
Yeah. Because they do make you sign an NDA, or excuse me, an NDA, a waiver, But the funniest part is that there are people standing in line. They are never going to put their foot on a skateboard. I don't know who they're getting them for or whether they're collecting them, but you know that this guy who, with all due respect to all of us in our ages, we're not going to get on a skateboard. And yet they're standing there at CES. They've paid an ungodly amount of money and are paying an ungodly amount of money in hotel bills and food to stand in line for a skateboard they will never use. I don't understand it, but it works. Their booth is always super popular. The one I was looking for is called Strada. This was at Showstoppers, and this was probably the longest interview we did. Indulge me for just a second, and I'll try to explain to you what it is, because the demo blew me away as someone who does work with video. But basically, video is usually the files are large. They have developed a way that I can work remotely with video on a server sitting somewhere else. And they were showing a MacBook that is sitting in Hollywood, and they had a camera on it. and are giving me access to work with that video, edit that video in real time with virtually no delay without transferring it over. But it's not a proxy. It's actually the video you're actually using. And the speed with which, and these were not high-speed lines. They make a point of saying, we're just using whatever the conference Wi-Fi is here. So there are no fast lines. There's nothing super expensive. The service is free to use. They do have pricing tiers that will give you certain different aspects of it. But if you have any interest in what I just tried to describe, go and check it out because it is absolutely amazing. I have no idea how they're doing it, and because you can, like, if to load a video into a Final Cut timeline, you're watching the camera pointed at the Mac in Hollywood, and you're watching it hit the hard drive. They've partnered with OWC. And so you're watching it hit the OWC hard drive because you see the light blinking. You stop editing, the light stops. So there's no, this is not a gimmick or a trick because there'd be no point. So if you have any interest in this kind of thing or being able to remotely collaborate on video, it is absolutely an essential watch. Norbert, pick one.
Another vendor that we tend to visit, this is our third year visiting with them, is a vendor called ShiftCam. And basically, we use the camera that we have on hand. My iPhone is my camera. I have a Canon DSLR sitting in my closet just basically gathering dust, and I don't use it because I don't carry it. What this allows you to do is with their case, you're able to go ahead and attach different lenses to your iPhone, telephoto, if you wanted to do macro, if you wanted to do wide angle, and they've just kind of worked their way from there. This year they had different cages that you can actually put your iPhone to use it with a tripod if you wanted to have something that's on there you can put your flash on there. Continuing to innovate, they had some huge lenses that were probably about 3 to 4 inches. So if you just carry your iPhone around and you want to have access to something that's just a little bit better than the iPhone lens, you have something you can go ahead and carry with you without having to take out your big old DSLR and use your iPhone.
Today's Mac Voices is supported by CleanMyMac by MacPaw. If your Mac has been feeling sluggish lately, apps taking longer to launch, storage getting tight, fans spinning up for no good reason, it's time for CleanMyMac, one of the easiest ways to get your Mac running cleaner and smoother. CleanMyMac helps you find and remove the clutter that builds up over time, junk files, old caches, broken downloads, and leftover bits from apps you thought you deleted months ago. Cleaning that out can help free up space and help your system feel more responsive. It also makes it simple to manage the things that slow you down at startup, so you're not loading a pile of background items every time you boot. And when you want to do a quick cleanup, CleanMyMac's Smart Scan pulls common maintenance tasks into one place, so you can tune up your Mac in minutes instead of digging through folders and settings. If you want to give your Mac a performance refresh, check out CleanMyMac from MacPaw and see how much unnecessary stuff has been weighing down your Mac. Get tidy today. Try 7 days free and use the code MacVoices20 in all caps for 20% off at cleanmy.com/MacVoices, also in all caps. That's clnmy.com/MacVoices and MacVoices in all caps, and the code MacVoices20, both in all caps, for 20% off. Thanks to CleanMyMac for supporting Mac Voices. Do you get tons of spam calls, a flood of junk email? And in that junk are the obvious scams, so you have to wonder how many other not-so-obvious scams there are. Your information is all over the internet and you don't even know it. That's why you should partner with Incogni. It helps reduce spam and takes control of your online privacy by taking away your private data from shady companies. Incogni hunts down unethical sites and gets your information removed from the places that expose your private data. No emails to send, no forms to fill out, or hoops to jump through. They handle the entire data removal process for you. But that's not all. Incogni also continuously monitors if your data is put back onto those databases, requesting repeated removals. keeping your data yours forever. So you get way less spam calls, way less spam emails, and get more peace of mind. And it's not just the spam either. There can be serious risks when it comes to having your personal data publicly available. I'm talking about identity theft, cyber stalking, and even scammers using voice data to impersonate people. Get peace of mind knowing you're being vigilant against those sorts of cybercrimes. And best of all, you can cancel at any time, and they offer a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can get it completely risk-free. Right now, you can get 60% off an annual plan by going to Incogni.com and use the code CHUCK. That's incogni.com/Chuck, and use the code CHUCK at checkout. Right now, you can get 60% off an annual plan by going to Incogni.com and use the code CHUCK. That's incogni.com/Chuck, and use the code CHUCK at checkout. Thanks to Incogni for supporting MacVoices. At Showstopper, SwipeVideo was showing what they called immersive event video creation on standard devices. And the Cadillac version of this is that they took a tennis match, put 32 iPhones around the arena, and you can then move in real time seamlessly between, because of they set it up so that the lens coverage is overlapping. So you can see the tennis match from any angle in the stadium. So if you want to be, if you want the player down in front of you, you can look at that. You can spin it around, go behind the other player. You can go to the center court. It was fascinating, and it's all software based and using iPhones or any of the other standard cameras. But 32 iPhones, okay, that's going to get kind of expensive. So they were showing. Then they showed us a demo of a band playing. And we've all seen concert videos where you have the wide shot where you see the whole band, and then you zoom in on have a tight shot on the guitarist and maybe a tight shot on the drummer. So they said using as few as 2 or 3 cameras, you position them where you want, and you may not have that smooth immersive kind of thing that they're working with the 32, but you can have basically a multi-camera setup that the user chooses. That's the key. It's not me choosing what you get to see. It's you getting to choose what you want to see. So if you are watching that band that is only using 3 or 4 cameras and you really don't care about the drummer, but you want to see the guitarist, you can focus on that. Or maybe when the singer starts to sing, you can kick over to his camera. It's all your choice. And they too offer a free tier or minimal cost. It's a revenue sharing thing. So if you're charging for your event, they make some money, you make some money, and use their service. But it truly opens up and gives you ideas for what you can do. I've talked to a couple different companies that do things like this for iPads and iPhones, but a director or a producer is telling you basically which shot you're going to see. You don't get to pick it. In this environment, you get to pick which shot or shots you want to see. And that was a differentiator that was just kind of amazing. Let's see. RØDE, I don't know how many of you know RØDE, RODE, out of Australia, but they do a number of mics, a lot of audio gear that a lot of us use in our podcasts. They are moving, though, quickly into video, and they were showing a video switcher that is now compatible with all of their other devices. They're moving even more into the mid-level microphone market for YouTubers and that kind of thing. And it's surprisingly affordable prices. And I know I'm a fan of their products. A lot of the folks that we talk to on MacVoices are fans of RØDE products. So if you have that need or interest, it is definitely something to watch. Norbert, pick one.
Personally, I don't have sleep apnea, thankfully, but I do know quite a few people that do. And when they travel, they have to take their CPAP machines, or even when they're at home, they have their CPAP machine to sleep with. Well, we visited a new company, and I'm trying to get the name right now. I had it here. But what they found, it's a company called Appscent. And what they found is they have a machine, and it basically looks like a fan, like one of those fans that you can go ahead and tilt. And what it does is it's monitoring you. When it notices that you are having problems breathing, it'll start kicking out certain scents, like a little citrus scent or a little pine scent. And what that does is that involuntarily gets your nose to start sniffing it and smelling it, opening up the nasal passages. So if you do have to use a CPAP machine, you don't have to. You just have this machine sitting next to your bed, and when it notices that you're not able to breathe normally, it'll kick out a little bit of scent, and hopefully get you to start breathing normally without that big bulky machine on your face.
One of the advantages Norbert has is he gets to hide behind the camera while they do all these things to me. So they sat me in the chair, and yes, it's exactly as Norbert said. It was not obnoxious. What they said is that if I'm sleeping with someone and they have sleep apnea, the scent is not going to bother me. If anything, it may make me sleep deeper, but it's not going to wake me up. It doesn't even wake the person up that has the apnea. It just causes their body to start to breathe again. But before we talk to them, that one was sort of an accident. There was a company named called Elemind that. Okay, I'll tell you the whole story real quick. There was a showcase the day before the first state. Norbert was not here yet in Vegas yet, and so I went to this showcase. And when you do a showcase, it's in a hotel suite, and they've set up just little stations, different places. I guess last couple of years, you may have seen an interview that was taped in a bathroom because it was for electric oral care. This time, though, one of these showcases had a setup in the bedroom that you could lay down. Well, they were soliciting people to lay down, put these earphones on, and listen to this, their product, if you will, that was supposed to put you to sleep. And so, and the company CEO was there. She was absolutely a fireball. She was energetic. She's wearing a cap that says "Sleep with the CEO." It's like, okay, fine. So, with people crowded around, I put this thing on, and of course, they give you a mask to so you aren't distracted. And I'm laying there like a big whale on this bed while people are standing around watching me try to go to sleep. They put a timer on, and I can't say that it put me to sleep, but it did something, because yes, I was aware of people around me. I could hear the conversations, but the longer I went, the less it mattered to me. What was playing in my ears almost sounded like chirps of static at a regular interval. But at the end of the day, when the alarm went off and they came and roused me, I can't say that I had been fully asleep, but I absolutely felt refreshed and relaxed. And it was one of those things that's like, okay, I may have to invest in this because it was truly amazing. I've talked to a couple people since then, and they say that it was helping me achieve a certain brainwave state. I don't know enough about that to comment on it, but it was not snake oil. It absolutely was doing something. And so it might be something you want to look into. So it was very, very unusual, very unusual. Norbert, you have another one, or you want me to go?
I'm going to go ahead and tee you up for this one, Chuck. And this was one that you did when I left on the final day. And right now, smart glasses are very, very popular and very trendy in our tech world. And, we see smart glasses everywhere with the Meta Ray Bans, and now they have Oakley's, and another company called Xreal that we were able to see it, but Chuck was able to interview. I don't know if you want to give your experiences of what you thought about the Xreal glasses, Chuck.
Yeah, I when I first heard of Xreal, months ago. I really kind of dismissed it. It's like, yeah, another smart glasses, big deal. But when I got there, and the more I've read about it, I was intrigued. These are not smart glasses in the smart sense. Basically, all they are is they connect to a video source, and they give you the big, wide, immersive screen. I think, what did they say? I think 190-inch screen in front of your face by wearing these glasses. And so I talked to the gentleman that was there. I also did one of the demos, and I've done the Vision Pro demos. That was one of the reasons, because that to me is one of the most appealing things, is be able to have that big, huge screen in front of you, again, like what's behind me, that you can work with. And it was very, very impressive. It was very comfortable. The price is notably cheaper than the Vision Pro, but of course, it is not spatial computing. It is just basically taking a video source, could be your Mac, could be your iPhone, your iPad, or some other device, and putting that big screen up in front of you. It's just mirroring whatever the screen is that you're using. And so I came away very impressed, and would say, if you have that kind of need, I mean, I would be much more likely to put these on a cross-country airline flight than I would a Vision Pro, because I think it'd be more comfortable in the long run. But more importantly, you'd be look a little less like a space alien invading. So yeah, it changed my mind about what they were. I don't think they've been given enough credit in the media for what they've done. And they had just announced a partnership with a gaming company to up their refresh rate to 120 hertz. So they're really working at trying to make it a better experience, not just for casual viewing or even computing, but for the gaming world as well. So that was a real good. Thank you, Norbert. That was on my list too. I'm going to call out Moft, M-O-F-T. If you're not familiar with Moft, the only way I can describe most of their products is their origami kind of things, where cases, stands, anything like that, they can fold into all these insane shapes. This year they were showing us an iPad case. I think that they said it folds into 22 separate shapes. So it can sit on your desk. It can sit so that it can be looking at me like this. And if Norbert's over on the other side, you can just tilt it right over and let him see what you're seeing. It had a way that you could fold it so that it will sit on your arm, and you could walk around with it that way, and fairly securely as well. Their products are always interesting. And most of them are very low profile. You hardly notice that they're on. Or if you want something that's a little more case-like, you can get that too. But they're a fun company to talk to every year, because you just never know what they're going to come up with. Norbert, pick one.
Well, I have to give my props to the iPhone, because I think it has one of the best camera systems out there. Unfortunately, the microphone is a little bit lacking at times. So we got to stop at the Shure booth, who makes really great microphones. I'm actually using one right now. They created a microphone for your iPhone that plugs into the bottom of the iPhone, USB-C, and you have this little tiny microphone that you can go ahead and use. Perfect for influencers like we all are. When you want to go ahead and have good audio in addition to good video. And I thought that was pretty interesting. And that was one of the products that actually showed up on the Monday shows the following day. So another kudo to Chuck for getting that one right.
I'm going to do one more, and then I want to leave time for questions, because I know we don't want to overstay our welcome. But we ran into a Roam, R-O-A-M, a Roam tracker. This adds or offers dual. It's an AirTag competitor, but it offers dual network compatibility. So it's compatible not with just with Apple's Find My network, but also with the Android network as well. It also includes What3Words integrations. And if you're not familiar with What3Words, you really need to go back and look at the interviews from last year with What3Words. The whole idea behind What3Words is that they have mapped the entire globe, and in like, I think it's like 2 meter by 2 meter squares. Now think about that, 2 meter by 2 meter squares. Every one of those squares has 3 words associated with it. So if I want to tag my front door so that you can find it, my front door might be, rock, banana, case. And it will take you use their app, it will take you right to that spot. And so it's not like, okay, you're going to get my street number or whatever, and the ambulance is trying to find where on my street the number is. If you have a What3Words identification, and this is all free to use. So if you are not familiar with this, get familiar with it and talk to your local emergency services, because they should be familiar with it, because it allows you to pinpoint exactly where you are. And the What3Words website, I know they're not this year, but last year was the last couple of years we've talked to them have been wonderful. They've got all these success stories about hikers out in the wilderness, and it doesn't matter. It's it's mapped, so they can give a rescue firm, a rescue operation, their What3Words location, and they can go right to it. So the fact that Rome has introduced this is, I think, even better, because now it's not a case of, well, my backpack was last seen at this address. It's my backpack was last seen within this 2 meter block, and I know you'll know exactly where it is. We could go on and on, because we could go down the list and talk to you about each one, but there are a lot of really great ones there. But I do want to leave time for questions. I also want to throw one more thing into the chat, and that's a link, because the other question we get all the time is, what do you use to shoot these interviews? And so I put together a blog post for what the rig and what our equipment list was for this year. Every year it evolves a little bit. Every year we change things or experiment. This year was no different. But if you're curious about that, there it is, with links to all the gear as well. What questions can we answer? What things are you curious about CES, or what products that you were interested in, or trends, whatever's on your mind? And you will have to unmute yourself.
I have 2.
Okay.
You've got something on here about pets and firefighters. What is that?
Pets, hang on, I got to find it. That was Pepcom, wasn't it? Yes.
Pepcom, yes.
Rescue Retriever. This is a system that a firefighter, actually, the company is 2 twin brothers. One is a I believe he's a fire chief. Don't think I'm overstating that. But they got frustrated with the number of times that they've had to carry just to be candid, a dead pet out and hand it to an owner because of the smoke and issues. So they developed this system that the first thing is, I'll walk it through. There's almost like a foil sticker that you can put up on the window, showing that there's a pet in the house. And of course, because it's foil, when the emergency lights show up, that's going to, almost borderline strobe. The second thing is, let's see, the second one was, it's a device that clips on your animal's collar, that will also strobe in an emergency situation when the smoke alarm is going off or whatever. That will help the firefighter locate the animal in a smoke-filled environment. And the third thing, I had it and I lost it a minute ago. And the other thing was that they needed to find a way, because the animal already is terrified. And I'm not a dog owner, or a cat owner, so you all that are know this, but apparently animals have a particular place in your home that they feel safe. And so when something goes wrong, that's where they go. But of course, the firefighter has no idea where that is.
Right.
That's right. And so there is a place in this device for an AirTag as well. So it can help lead that firefighter right to the animal. The flashing light will help them identify it. And they've saved, I don't know how many cats and dogs and animals with this device. And of course, the AirTag is a bonus because if the dog gets out, well, you're tracking the dog. So it's an interview. It's probably one of the most passionate interviews we did because you can tell these guys really feel strongly about what they've been through and having to deliver deceased pets.
Right.
And, so it's worth watching if you have a pet or care about that kind of thing.
Yep. Okay. And then the other thing you mentioned, somebody with network attached storage. Evidently, Synology is no longer doing stuff for the home market. And do you recommend is it Ugreen?
Ugreen.
Okay.
Linda, I don't have any, and Norbert, speak up if you do. I don't have any personal experience with Ugreen other than their chargers.
Okay.
But I will say this, that they answered all the questions I wanted to know about network attached storage, about their services. And also, I've been seeing a lot of write-ups, especially for their one basic unit that has been written up. I'm afraid I'll give you the wrong outlets, but you can find them pretty easily. That it's a good starter home consumer level NAS. So I'd say, it's definitely worth a try.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Okay. That's what I had. Other people?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
That app that made you sleepy, you said it was Elmont. How do you spell the name of the company?
Elemind. Let me find it. Whoops. That was not what it was supposed to do. Shoot. Sorry. Did the wrong thing. There we go. Let me throw a link in the chat to that particular interview for you.
And it's actually, if I remember correctly, it wasn't just an app. It's actually a device that you put on your
Yeah.
head. In
Sorry,
addition
yeah.
to that will help stimulate the certain brainwaves that you want to get you relaxed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I can tell you it has an effect. And I could easily believe it could put me to sleep if I wasn't, laying in a hotel room in Vegas with people standing around me. Any other questions, comments?
Okay. Go ahead.
A couple of things backing up just on covering the show on things. Norbert, of course, joked that a couple of the things you saw here will probably show up in next holiday's cool stuff found lists and the like. What about the reverse? Are any of the suggestions that you got from, say, this last Christmas season's cool stuff, things that you actively hunted down at CES?
That's a great question, Charles. I can answer that. One for me was Baseus, Baseus. I was not familiar with their products. A couple of them showed up in this year's gift guides, and they were exhibiting. I'm not sure if it was the first or second time this year, but I stopped by. If I were going to categorize them, I would categorize them as an anchor competitor. But they have everything is so clean and neat and very competitively priced. And I have now, after the gift guide shows, I have some of the Baseus chargers and products, and yeah, I really like them. The gentleman that showed us around was very personable, and it was one of those companies that I want to learn more about their products. Not that there was anything like, oh my God, this was fantastic, and nobody else. It's not like anything else. It was more just the good, solid kind of things that you use every day and depend on.
Yeah.
So, that one really jumped out that met that description. Norbert, anything that you can think of?
The other one that always gets mentioned in their gift guides is all of their products, because they're all very Apple adjacent and very beautiful, are the Satechi products. And we actively go out and look for them each year. This year they had a Thunderbolt 5 dock that caught my eye. So we'll see how I make it through the year without that. But Satechi is another one that we tend to hit every year, and it shows up on the gift guides as well.
And I will sort of this, Charles, I'm going to switch around your logic just a little bit. Not as much because it was in the gift guides, but because I had some recent experience helping a friend move into a new house and set up some of the smart home gear, basically the cameras. Eufy we talked to Eufy at PepCom. They were showing off some new smart homes stuff. But I have to tell you that Eufy has probably the easiest implementation of anything I've seen because of that experience. And I was anxious to go and talk to them about it because literally there is no manual. You get a link and you click that link and it walks you through the setup. So there's no, we printed it in 0.5 type. So you have to get a magnifying glass to see what it says. It is absolutely brilliant setup. She has multiple Eufy products. I have several, and I was already familiar with some of it. But between times when I got mine and she got hers, they have improved the setup greatly. And so I would tell you, if you're looking for security cameras or that kind of thing, look at some of the Eufys. They're very, very good.
Okay. And if you're willing to actually state such, was there anything on the opposite end of the quality scale that stood out to you? Things that you looked at and said, really? That's a product? Really?
Norbert, you want to do that or you want me to do that?
Well, if you know Chuck Joiner, you knew that he's very diplomatic. And if there is something that we stopped and got pulled into a booth to go cover, Chuck would use these words and say, "Thank you very much for your time, but that's not something that our audience would be targeted to. So we appreciate it and thank you." That's basically all that we would do. There was a couple times that you used this past CES season. I can't remember the products. But that's basically that's Chuck's go-to line. Thank you so much, but that's not our target audience. Have a good show.
And they seem to appreciate it because they don't want to waste their time either.
Yeah.
So it kind of cuts both ways. Charles, I'll say this. It's not even a case of, I don't know about the quality, but you look at some of the things that are there being pitched and you think, they're spending money to pitch this? This is never going to make it. I mean, it is either so niche or so completely off the wall that, but you try to respect it because, again, they've spent a lot of money. This is a dream of theirs, coming to Eureka Park and getting one of these little shoulder-to-shoulder booths and talking about their product. And so it's like, yeah, good, good for you. But if you're back next year, I'll be shocked. If I ever hear from you again, I'll be shocked. Yeah. So with no disrespect intended, these are people that are trying, and hey, once in a while something catches.
Yeah, you're too diplomatic to name names.
Even if I wasn't diplomatic, I don't think I could name names because, what did I say, 4,100 exhibitors? I barely remember who we talked to without this list. It is such an intellectual, emotional, every sense you can name overload to walk through those, whichever doors we're walking through. It is an experience that if you ever get to do it, do it. It's well worth it. But I remember back in the old days, in the old Macworld days, there were journalists I knew that they really hated to go to CES. I won't speak for Norbert, but to me, I love it because for an interviewer, it's a target-rich environment. but it's also just there's so much passion with all these people. The young French girl that Norbert mentioned, Margot, you could just tell there's a lot of passion, and obviously because of her story. But I don't think that we showed up with anybody. We interviewed anybody that just they phoned it in. They're all passionate about what they're doing.
To that end, is it a show that the average person can attend?
Yeah, you can. I mean, you can get show passes. Honestly, we've been a press for so long, I forget now how they charge, because usually you're press, you're an exhibitor or an attendee. But yeah, you can get into NAB is the one you can't get into easily, but CES, yeah, you can get into CES.
What is the I just saw it and then disappeared. The mail overload, something about mail overload? Mail Vista.
Mail Vista?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
This is probably unfair because it seems to be a bit more advanced because it's AI based, but it's almost like SaneBox, if you're familiar with SaneBox, but they are using AI to try to identify it and break it down into more categories to surface things that you have trained it to that are important to you and maybe push some of the other things down. I believe, if I remember correctly, they're a French company too.
It's a French company.
Better than SpamSieve?
I'm sorry, Linda?
Better than SpamSieve?
Well, I haven't experienced it, so I don't know. But okay. I tend to think of SpamSieve as just spam, not necessarily organizing things. SaneBox in my pecking order would, and not that anything's better than anything else.
Oh, but that's
SaneBox is trying to do more with your inbox. Mail Vista would seem to be trying to do even more with your mailbox through the use of AI.
Okay. Thank you. That's
sure.
Okay.
Anything else we can answer for anyone?
Or did you buy the sleep thing so you get to sleep by being out there on the East Coast?
Not yet. But Linda, I'll tell you the truth. I have done nothing but eat, sleep, work, and edit videos since we came back. So starting tomorrow, I get to start playing catch up. But yeah, and listen, I'm going to take a second here, and I want to thank Norbert openly in front of everyone. You would not see the volume or the quality of videos that you do without his help, and he constantly deflects the credit that I try to give him. And if you look carefully, I'll tell you there are two places. I won't tell you which interviews, but there's one interview where he actually got on camera in one of the translation demos, and there's another place that if you look in a reflection on a screen on a monitor, you can see him. Other than that, you can't find Norbert anywhere, but it would not be possible without him. So Norbert, thank you. It's a blast as always. I can't wait to do it next year.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
Very good. Okay.
Thank you all for having us and for letting us double team you. This was a lot of fun. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you. It's great info. All righty. Okay. Sleep well.
Thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of your meeting. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.